The most prestigious Czech and Slovak virtual racing series is back. 20 of the best drivers from Czechia and Slovakia. 12 races at some of the most famous circuits in the world. Who is going to become the new champion? This is the Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP 2022 season. Hello and welcome back to the Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP 2022 season. We've returned for the penultimate race of the year and the third and final race in the Western Hemisphere. My name is Justin Sutton, and joining me today, it is, of course, Chris Buxton.
Just 2 to go. I can't believe we're near the end of what has been yet another amazing season here at VGP. Just the traditional finishing ground of Suzuka remaining. Lukáš Přáda, well, he could sew it up this time around. We'll go over championship connotation shortly, but Martin Stefanko still hanging on in there with Podstata with his fresh lease of life, chasing in on a further podium spot in the standings. But as always, fierce fighting throughout the field, and we very much look forward to how our gladiators do around Long Beach. Team standings then, ERT, with a comparatively comfortable lead. Can they be usurped? It would need some really disastrous luck for them, but Entropic are not giving up on the chase. ESET right there as well, trying to chase down Entropic with a similar gap, and then a very fierce fight for fourth with 4 teams in the fighting. So this is how the championship can be sewn up. So Lukáš Přáda is in the lead ahead of Stefanko. So Lukáš Přáda will be champion if he finishes anywhere in the top 8. If he's 9th or higher and Stefanko wins and doesn't take fastest lap, then it still becomes Lukas's. If he's 13th or higher and Stefanko is 2nd with or without the fastest lap, or if Stefanko finishes 3rd or lower. So it's all very much advantage Lukáš Přáda. If Stefanko finishes outside the podium, it's all sewn up. If Lukáš finishes anywhere in the top 8, doesn't matter what Martin Stefanko does at that point.
Here are the conditions for today's race. 25 degrees Celsius air temperature, 40 degrees. Track temperature is a little bit warm. Gusty as well, 17 kph. And it is Martin Sirotek who actually takes pole position ahead of Lukáš Přáda. Very close though, 24 thousandths of a second. Just another 3 thousandths down to Lukáš Přáda. And then very close down to Martin Kadlecek as well, who starts from the 2nd row. He's just half a tenth off the pace. Then it's a bit of a gap down to Nadley. He's 3.5 tenths off in 5th position with the other David Přáda in along with him. Martin Stefanko in 9th position, way down the order. Definitely surprised to see him there. Kashka starting a little bit further back. He did quite well last time out at Road America. With Jan Bruna and Lubomir Moritz bringing up the rear. Any big standouts for you there, Chris?
Pick one. I can't believe Martin Stefanko only half a second off, but in a track so short, that is disastrous starting from 9th. But it's going to be a crazy race no matter how you look at it.
We're about to go racing here as the lights come on, and it is going to be Martin Sirotek who leads us away with Lukáš Přáda alongside him in the Carvago car. That's Lukáš Přáda who gets a great start. Martin Kadlecek in the other Entropic car getting a really good start as well. Nearly 4 wide at one point, 3 wide as they get into the braking zone though, and it is going to be the Entropic that leads the way. Oh, we got a couple off in the first corner, a couple of cars locking up there and just about managing to hold on. And it is Lukáš Přáda who has taken the lead of this race from Martin Sirotek actually, and that is Hora, who was one of those cars that locked up, and I think it was Lehman that might have joined him because Lehman's right at the back as well too. Lehman had started inside the top 10, 8th position, so he dropped way back as a result of that. Kadlecek moving up, and Sirotek moving down, so the Entropic cars are now right with one another, and we've seen this a couple of times, haven't we, Chris, throughout this season, and we've seen them swap positions. There's been a couple of times where we weren't sure if they were asked to swap positions or if there was actual overtakes going on, but once again they find themselves right next to each other on track.
Yeah, Lukáš Přáda doesn't need to do a thing. He just needs to survive. Oh no, Kashka, don't be doing that. He's just nudged the back of... there was the Carvago car that he just tapped the back of. Not ideal, but still going. Did you see how the top four just took off as the lights went out? That gap, I mean, the gap from 4th to 5th has closed in again. But I reckon Pudstarter is in great form to be able to win this. Qualifying so high up and with kind of no immediate championship pressure on him. I think he's in really, really strong positions. Svoboda seems to be struggling a bit. It's a decent start for him in 12th, but he has just lost those couple of positions there. Is he damaged or is he just being a little bit cautious? Whoa! Oh my goodness me! Big shot car making big moves. Maracek still trying to secure that 9th position. He's got Martin Nadlik and Kashka right with him. My goodness me! This is Long Beach for you. It's bumpy, it's narrow, and that needs, shall we say, inventive overtaking opportunities being formed.
Yeah, and the driver is rising to the occasion, no doubt about it. It's a very difficult place to overtake. You can see push-to-pass is being used regardless, though, and no surprise, it is out of that final hairpin where you see a lot of the drivers deploying that push-to-pass. Oh, no! And Stepanovsky going backwards. He's got another car coming through, and he did very well there, actually, to get out of the way. And was that some E-set debris that I think that I saw at the corner? I wonder if Stepanovsky has made contact possibly with Moritz.
It's Moritz.
Yeah, I think it must have been Moritz that was involved in that. A number of cars into the pits, and this is on board with Hora. Let's see what happened with him. He's got a pretty significant gap up ahead. Oh, but the car, he braked way too late, got lifted up into the barriers, and that is the rear wing of Michael Lehman, I believe, that was flopping around, and that is why he is down in 20th position and stationary in the pits. What I've also noticed, a lot of cars on the soft tire, except for Stefanko. Stefanko actually hanging on in there in 13th position, and it's been a manic race already. It's been difficult to keep up with everything. I think the camera crew as well are having a hard time trying to keep up with everything because there is so much going on. And I do hope that we can get some replays, but Chris, I have got to point out Hermach got an incredible start, up 7 positions, I think, in the first couple of laps. Let's find out what happened with Stepanovsky. Got the Lenovo Legion up ahead, a Navitel behind. Oh. Yeah, he gets contact with the Navitel behind, and I think Moritz was really just a passenger in that one, and Stepanovsky kind of was too. I think that was a bit of an accordion effect going on there where everybody got closed up at that hairpin. So I think that's just one of those racing incident sort of things, but we'll see what the stewards have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at the gap to Lukáš Přáda, or the Přáda brothers indeed. But, you know, Lukáš has got no pressure. His main rival of Stefanko down in 13th, primarily due to the tyre difference. Those soft tyres are going to be really, really crucial. But everybody, it's interesting. I'd be very nervous if I was Martin Stefanko. You know, when it's almost like when you turn up to a party, you're the only one not in fancy dress. You know, it's just one of those moments of, I didn't get the memo about something. You know, he's the only one to go for this particular strategy, but we will see. Great effort though from the Entropic pair, Sirotek and Kadlicek, all ready to do battle, keeping Pudstarter company for the top. So the podium 3 are just having their own race. Look at the gap back to Lukáš Přáda. Now, I can't imagine that Lukáš Přáda is struggling, unless he just hasn't had time to practice or whatever it is. I think he's just playing the numbers game. He knows he just has to finish in the top 8, but you can never ever count Martin Stefanko out. You can never ever say that he is done and defeated. He will be lightning quick at the end of the race on the softer tyres when everyone else is on hards. So, and again, he's only just over a second behind the Navitel car, so he's not out of it by any stretch, but he's got a big hill to climb if he wants to stay in the championship fight until Suzuka.
And he's going to have to hope for some luck, some good luck on his part, some bad luck on the part of Lukáš Přáda as well. But as you say, I think Lukáš Přáda doing the right thing, probably just hanging on in there. I have to say, I am impressed with Sirotech doing a good job hanging on to the back of Přáda. It really seems like Přáda is not able to pull away from this entropic duo. Similarly, it doesn't seem like Kadlacek has significantly more pace compared to the cars ahead or anything like that. We don't really see him posturing like he's going for the overtake. So at the moment, it really does seem like Sirotech has the genuine pace to run in this position for the meantime. Just over a second as they went through that corner, but less than a second as they reach on the straight. I'm sure between the top three, as they're running very, very close in formation. Less than 50 minutes to go. We're only in the early stages of this race, which has historically been a bit of a difficult race, not just for VGP, but for really any sim racing series, or indeed any open wheel series. If you could believe it, IndyCar does in fact race actively on this circuit, with this year's pole time being a 105.3, so clearly very accurate representations of the cars being displayed here today, with the cars on heavy fuel, obviously, running in the high 107s, the top three running high 107s as it stands right now. And in qualifying low 106s for the top four, mid 106s for the next cars down. So very realistic, very accurate sort of times that we can expect. And these are slightly older cars. These aren't 2022 spec cars, I don't think. So it would make sense for them to just be ever so slightly slower around Long Beach here, but. Honestly, I have to say, though, I am impressed by the amount of overtaking that we're seeing. And again, Hermach, who I mentioned earlier, up a ton of positions. I would love to see, if not during the broadcast here today, maybe we can get a social media highlight or something like that, because Hermach up a lot of positions. He's one of those drivers that does tend to do quite well in the race. And maybe not quite as well in qualifying. So no surprises to see him doing well in the race, but applying lots of pressure to the back of the Orlen Benzina of Aleš Danda, who is running quite closely to the back of Pilo, who is quite close to the back of David Přáda. So nice little grouping right here, all battling for a top 5 position.
Now, a few names I do want to draw attention to. Eric Vizzi is not in his usual Lenovo Legion car. That is because he is preparing for a Sim Racing World Championship on Assetto Corsa and also Virtual Le Mans. We will see him back for the grand final in Suzuka, but for this particular race, he is being replaced by Marit Studnicka. So that's one name that we haven't seen before. That is, he's currently in 14th position. Also worth noting that since the last race, Studnicka has won the Sprint Cup, so he will be in the draft for next season. So we may well see much more of Marit Studnicka moving forward in future seasons. Also, Michael Shimbera, with having technical trouble in his Navitel car, is replaced by Tomasz Moczek. So again, one, hopefully I'm pronouncing the names correctly. Apologies if not. But two, so that is two names on the board that we haven't seen before. And that is why. So one of the Lenovo Legion cars and Navitel cars having their reserve drivers standing in for them. There is Stefanko doing what he can on the hard tyres in 13th position in the ESET car. Of course, he's losing time to the leaders at this point, but doing what he needs to do. I guess because it was quite a long shot for the championship for him, it was worth the try.
Yeah.
It was a case of may as well.
Yeah.
Again, we know that Martin has had other commitments outside of VGP, and almost certainly when we didn't see him at Monza was probably the biggest dent to his championship challenge, and what allowed Lukáš to just build what must feel like a really insurmountable gap to Stefanko, and also the no points from Spa either really compounded that for Stefanko. But as is true to his form, he has not given up. It would be very easy to think that is not a mountain I'm going to be able to climb, so why try? That's that's not part of his modus operandi. He's like, oh, a race to do? Let's go.
Yeah, Road America as well. The 7th at Road America hurt as well. It's been a difficult few rounds, actually, for Stefanko. The last time he scored other than Road America. Well, last time he was on the podium was Silverstone. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely been a difficult few rounds. And while that's been happening for him, let's look at Lukáš Přáda's last few rounds. First, second, first. I mean, he's having the kind of season that Stefanko was having earlier in the year, because of course Stefanko picking up wins from rounds 3, 4, 5, and 6, all in consecutive order. So 4 races in a row. So Stefanko really was on fire, and unfortunately, yeah, just because of other obligations, but such is the life of a professional sim racer. Let's find out what happened with Michael Lehman. You could see a Lenovo Legion going very slowly back there. I don't know if that was Studnicka or if that was somebody else, but Michael Lehman, yeah, brakes quite early, moves to the left-hand side. That's where Thomas Hora finds him. That's an interesting one on that one. The steward, we do have live stewarding this season, and the stewards haven't awarded any sort of penalties or anything like that. Now, Lehman's still in the pits. I don't know if he's going to be coming back out at this stage.
No. Yeah, there was a message earlier on. Lehman has retired from the race due to the rear wing being detached rather unceremoniously from the car. I'm a little curious on why he jinked out quite when he did, but either way, there was no way in hell that Thomas Hora was making that braking point. He was way too late. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a penalty going to the big shot driver for that one.
Did Michael Lehman potentially even help him actually by slowing him down before? Because otherwise, Hora might have hit the barrier a lot harder. So Michael Lehman's little juke there may have actually saved Thomas Hora, and that might be why he's actually still in this race, and he is going around in 15th position, which, just as a reminder, or if anybody's new, that is a points-paying position, or a point-paying position, we should say. But there is a championship point involved in that, and there are a lot of laps still to go, with the lap times ranging from 107 to 109 and thereabouts. There's a lot of laps still to turn, and we are going to see at least one more incident. I mean, I hate to jinx somebody, but I just don't see how 18 cars can do 41 minutes of racing at Long Beach and not have some kind of incident. So I think it's very possible that will happen. But we're having a look at the moment with the battle for 7th. This used to be the battle for 5th, but that really has turned into a 2-horse race between David Přáda and Adam Pilo. They're off now debating that on their own, and this battle now has started to form and tighten up as well too. The battle between Danda, Hermach, and Nadlik as well, who remember is a race winner. Martin Nadlik winning the race earlier this season. That was at Daytona, so way back at round 2 when he picked up that win. But Nadlik right at the back of this battle, and looking to pick up some much needed points for Lenovo Legion. They could really do with some extra points. So he's going to be looking to try and follow Hermach, follow Danda, and see if he can score himself a nice a solid top 10 finish, or maybe even better. Because of course, with the battling going on up ahead, there's every chance that a couple of cars could get into each other. Heck, even that barrier at the exit of turn 1 seems very inviting, doesn't it? All on your own.
So true. And that's the thing, is that to get this track right, you have got to flirt with those barriers. Yeah, this is a unforgiving old school track. You go off by a little bit, barrier is waiting to have a nibble at your tires. You hit it, just a smidge more than you should, bang, suspension's gone. It is one of these things that will give no quarter. It's a very unforgiving place. But that is part of the challenge, very much like the streets of Monte Carlo, the Monaco Grand Prix, or whatever, indeed races at Monaco. Same deal, is that it's the challenge of the circuit that really appeals to most drivers. As we look at David Přáda and Adam Pilo, then, as you say, having an argument for 5th position, although that is still advantage Přáda for that one, giving himself a little bit of breathing space to the Mecca All-4 Sim car. Adam Pilo having a good run at the moment as they come through the not all the corners are named. Again, this is obviously a converted street, so trying to name the corners is not always easy to do. They now head down towards Tek Tate Turn. I can't pronounce that properly, I've been trying. Tek No, I still can't do it. Now Pine Avenue, this straight as you go over the crest, then into Seaside Way. I can't even pronounce the easy words correctly. Goodness me. There's Lukáš Přáda, the potential champion after this race. If things finish the way they are now, he is exactly where he needs to be, fairly comfortably so. But we still have the pit stops to conclude as yet. There's still plenty of strategy that is to play out. And also, because of this track is very, very unforgiving, you don't need to be near anybody else to make a mistake that will end your race. I've done some virtual laps around this place, and I believe me and the barriers, we're on first name terms. I've hit pretty much most of them. Yeah, it's one of these things that yeah, so running on board right now with Adam Pilo, look how close you have to get to each barrier.
Every time.
There you go. And then, yeah, exactly. So every single time. And you get one corner entry wrong, you haven't got time to correct it. It's not like you've got a runoff area. It's not like you've got gravel or grass or anything. It is just, if you make a mistake, you're out of it.
And the other thing is too is it's if you don't do it, if you don't flirt with those barriers, you're leaving tenths on the table. You know, tenths plural of a second on the table, and you're not going to be able to, you know, make that overtake. You're not going to be able to defend from the car behind. You're not going to be able to keep up with the car ahead, because a few tenths at a short track like this really starts to add up. You know, if you're a few tenths slower at Spa, that's one thing. But when the lap is 69 seconds long, 68 seconds long, you know, that's a lot more significant. So yeah, it's definitely difficult. I did also want to highlight Adam Pilo, by the way. He's been, I have to say, one of my favorite drivers of the season. I've made no secret about Hermach being one of my favorites of the season as well too. And one of my favorite rookies as well. But Adam Pilo has to be one of the most consistent drivers that we've had since he joined this season back at Hockenheim. Yeah, it was Hockenheim. And he's put in 7th, 6th, 7th, 4th, 6th. So he hasn't finished any lower than 7th or any lower than 4th at any point of this season. He's been in 5 races so far. So yeah, and he's in that exact range again for the 6th race running. He finds himself in 6th position, fairly comfortably in 6th position as well. That gap continues to grow to Alex Standa behind. It's now about 4 seconds or so. And he's continuing to apply pressure to David Přáda as well. He might be looking to do an overtake during the pit stop phase, because of course all of the drivers will have to come into the pits at least one time. Although we have seen 2-stop strategies become quite popular this season, which has been a real treat for us, I think, as fans of VGP. But you can see actually the top 3, I'm only just clocking, have really started to spread out. More than a second, or nearly a second and a half between all of them. And in fact, Sirotech has made a mistake. That happened just in the background as I was talking about this. Sirotech has made a massive mistake, and he's lost out, I'd say about 5 seconds or so. Yeah, he was about 3 seconds behind Přáda. He's now about 8 seconds behind Přáda. So, big mistake from Sirotech there. That's going to drop him, I think, completely out of the running for the top 2, unless, of course, Kadlecek and Přáda run into each other. Oh, and are we going to find out exactly? So maybe this happened earlier in the lap, and it just took me a little bit longer to pick up on it. But here goes Kadlecek. Oh, this was them swapping around positions. And again, yeah, that certainly seems like it may have been, if not team orders, at least pre-communicated, shall we put it that way.
Yeah, that was orchestrated one way or another. But that has really hurt Sirotech, who's in the pits now. Yeah. So that could well be, yeah, you're missing a bit of the front there, sir. Yep. So that's gone horribly wrong for Martin Sirotech. Big shame for him, but we'll see if he is able to recover from that. So that puts Stefanko now into the top 10, and he's now on the tail of the Navitel stand-in. of a Mocek. There we go. And we get to see what he looks like. That's nice. That's,
I see a Back to the Future poster. Is that an alien as well from Aliens? I'm liking the posters.
Yeah, he's ticking all the right boxes there. Yeah, you got no argument from me on that one. I grew up with Back to the Future, and I'm older than you, so I can say that. Wow, now what happened to the entropic driver of Sirotek then? All right, so we're coming down to the corner I can't pronounce properly. Oh, did he? Yeah. Wow, he recovered really quick from that.
Yeah.
So, and that would probably have been tyres more than anything else. Just maybe missed his braking point ever so slightly. Why is that Marshall facing that way? Probably, yeah, the tyres are beginning to give up. We've seen a number of cars now get onto those harder compounds, but that would have been the merest of moments too late on the brakes as Stefanko now utilising the life of his harder tyres. The soft tyres are starting to give up now, and Stefanko then he's starting to muscle his way towards those he can easily pick off. The overtaking here is not easy at all, but someone of Martin Stefanko's vast experience, he'll make fairly short work of those that he can, but he doesn't want to risk knocking himself out of the race entirely. So Stefanko has taken Mocek. He has got the Puma driver of Miroslav Svoboda right ahead of him. So that is next on the ESET target list.
A bit of push to pass deployed by Stefanko to get that done. Also, Kadlicek has fallen off the back of Putstada as well, by the way. He was less than 2 seconds behind after swapping positions around. Also, I wanted to mention Sirotek. I wonder if that issue really comes down to I wonder if he just carried more speed into that corner than he had before, because that was the first lap that he swapped positions with Kadlicek, and I wonder if that just slightly higher top speed on that straight due to the slipstream effect from the car ahead was enough to put him off, or potentially even like dirty air effect into the braking zone was enough to offset the braking, or maybe the two combined, or maybe he was just off, put off a little bit by Kadlicek being there. So I do find it interesting that it happened basically on the same lap that they swapped around. So I do wonder if that had something to do with it, either in a physics kind of way with the dirty air and slipstream and kind of stuff, or just getting caught off guard. And here we go. I think we're going to find out what happened to Kadlicek. So unfortunately, as soon as they've swapped around, they've both had incidents. Kadlicek did manage to avoid the barrier there, because he went in too deep into turn one all by himself, but that's lost him 6 seconds to Putstada up ahead. So really, really unfortunate for the Entropic team, because they weren't really having too many problems up until the moment that they swapped around, and I'm sure they were thinking, this is the best for both of us. We're making the right decision here. And it probably was the right decision, and Hermach's in. So these are the planned pit stops. Stefanko's in as well, too, so he's going to be running a long soft stint, assuming this is the only stint. There very well may be 2 stints for the cars. But Hermach is no longer stationary, and in fact, Hermach is going to be one of the next targets for Martin Stefanko up the road. And it is indeed the softs for Stefanko and the hards for Hermach, which indicates to me very strongly that we might be seeing a one-stop race here. And was that Pilo just getting by? Oh no, that's a lapped car. That is, I believe, Hora just being lapped there. And here is Putstada. Race leader is into the pits. Kadlicek into the pits as well too. Again, I think this might be a one-stop race.
We will see. It's whether the fresh soft tyres are going to be able to last. That seems a long way for me at a track like this. That seems a bit much to me, but we will see. They know what strategy they're aiming for, and a pretty short stop then from our drivers that are obviously just doing a quick tyre stop. They don't need to, there's no refueling going on here, so they're just taking on the tyres and getting on their way again. Hard tyres for Putstada and Kadlicek, and the Přáda brothers now leading the way, but of course they have not stopped yet. There is Sirotek. Well, I was going to say on a bit of a recovery drive, both of the Entropic drivers having had their own issues and losing time. They are back together as far as on-track positions are concerned. I didn't quite see who that was. I think that's the Orland Benzina car.
Kashka.
That was getting out of the way. It was Kashka, wasn't it? Yeah. It's getting out of the way. And this track is not an easy one to drive. I mentioned about how bumpy this track is and how unforgiving it is. That will give you an indication of how difficult this track is. But when you see drivers of this kind of caliber making what look like simple mistakes, it's not because it's not a question of their talent. It's because that's how hard this circuit is. It's one of the hardest on the calendar for this year, I'd say.
And this is iRacing. Those bumps that you're seeing, if for those at home, you can see people's grid positions on the left-hand side. Just calling that out if anybody wants to have a look, see who's gained and lost positions. Again, Hermach looks to be the big winner. Yeah, 7 positions gained. He has kind of stagnated a little bit there. He's not gained a lot of positions recently, but still up 7 positions. It's been a great race for him so far. But Lukáš Přáda now in control of the race, still out there. And there's the push-to-passes on the left-hand side as well. You can see the ERT cars, both with lots of push-to-pass, 8 and 9 respectively remaining. Přáda with only 5 remaining, Kadlacek with 7. Sirotek, we know that he loves to use those push-to-passes nice and early in the race. He's only got 2 remaining. And then you can see on the left-hand side, the 2 ERT cars, the only cars that have yet to come into the pits so far in this race. So we do expect they'll be coming in probably pretty soon here. Certainly, that's what I would expect. So we'll see. David Přáda, though, doing a great job keeping up to the back of Lukáš Přáda. And yeah, just doing a fantastic job. And yeah, with traffic becoming an issue, that's definitely going to throw a little bit of a spanner in the works, as that's Maricek coming under attack from Stefanko. Now remember, Stefanko with the soft compound of tires on, while everybody else is on the harder compound of tire. So Stefanko is going to be making good use of that extra mechanical grip and making up 1 position, moves himself up into the top 10. His next target, Martin Needlich, a couple seconds up the road.
I'm just thinking, I cannot see how the soft tires are going to last long enough. I mean, I'm beginning to wonder whether this is actually going to be more of a 2-stop race for a number of people, but the Přádas are trying to stretch the soft to become a 1-stop effort for them, as we now, speaking of, there they are. They are now coming in tandem to ditch their starting soft tyres and move on to the hard. It's going to hand the lead back over to a very hard charging, very revitalised pod starter. In fairness, his results in the GT3 phase of the season weren't bad, but they were a bit inconsistent. 3rd, 7th, 3rd, 2nd, DNF and 4th. So when he was finishing, he was still finishing very well, but he was a little bit up and down. And on this side of the halfway point, 4th, 2nd, 1st, 2nd. So I think it's fair to say he's had a better single-seater phase of this season. And that's probably part of the reason for that was his switch to Carvago. New team, new attitude, whatever it is. That's interesting. David Přáda is ahead of Lukáš Přáda.
And in
what's
fact,
happened there?
Danda is too.
Did Lukáš have... Now, I wonder whether Lukáš had some damage there, because what makes you think of that is before the Přáda brothers came in, there was a bit of a gap between the two. Then that gap vanished as they came in. So I think Lukáš had some damage to deal with, which is why he's suddenly 6-ish seconds behind his brother, give or take. So, curious one there. But again, Lukáš, top 8. All he needs. Doesn't matter what Martin Stefanko does outside of that. If Lukáš Přáda is in the top 8, he can't be usurped when it comes to Suzuka. So he can do the most cautious strategy in the world. Not that he will. It's Lukáš Přáda. Of course he's going to push, but he's not going to. What he's not going to do is take a risk. He's not going to do a bonkers 5-stop strategy. But I still think the Přáda brothers have gone for a longer initial stint to make this a 1-stop strategy. I think, my gut feeling is we're going to see more 2-stops throughout the field, but I await to be proven wrong, as I usually am when it comes to pit stop strategies.
So Stefanko's in a good position to pick up the fastest lap because he is the highest positioned of the late race soft runners. So he's very well positioned to pick up the fastest lap. So let's assume that he can make up the 32-second gap between himself and Lukáš Přáda over the course of the next 25 minutes of racing. while managing to overtake all the cars in between the two of them in the meantime as well. He still needs Lukáš Přáda to lose one more position, because of course, if Stefanko charges his way to the lead, Lukáš Přáda will lose one position. That will drop him down to 8th position. But that is exactly where he needs to be in order to win. So he needs Hermach or Neidlich or Maricek or someone to also overtake Lukáš Přáda. So yeah, it's not just about, you know, charging to the front and winning, but it's about somebody else needing to do the overtake as well. You know, it's very much 2012 Formula One season championship sort of situation where, yeah, just winning the race alone is not going to do it. He's gonna need other people to make some overtakes and whatnot. So. And I don't doubt Hermach is up for the challenge. You know, if you put a slightly slow-moving Lukáš Přáda in front of him, he is going to go for the overtake. I don't think Hermach is in any way intimidated by, you know, the fact that it's the points leader in front of him or whatever. So I think he would go for it. I don't think he would hold back. But he still would have to complete the overtake on Lukáš Přáda, and there you have the championship battle for the as it stands right now. Lukáš Přáda would be on 221, Přáda on 183, and Stefanko actually dropping down behind Přáda as a result of this, because of course what were they? I believe there were 10 points difference between the two of them, and here comes Lukáš Přáda. Yep, he's not thinking about being overtaken by Peter Hermach. He's thinking about doing some overtaking on Aleš Danda. He's not quite gotten him, as Danda deploys a bit of push to pass to try and defend from that position. But Lukáš Přáda seems happy to let him defend from with that push to pass. And he stays behind for the meantime. Again, we know he has a pretty significant amount of push to passes. Around about half his push to passes still remaining, maybe even slightly more than half. So he's got you know, some more time in his pocket, a bit of a gap as well. It's more than 2 seconds down to Hermach behind. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on Lukáš Přáda, because he's probably going to want to take that position from Danda in a safe sort of way. He doesn't want to risk anything, obviously. And similarly, Stefanko is going to be getting pretty close to Neidlich here in the next few laps, I think. So both of our championship contenders possibly going to be looking to make overtakes very soon here.
Oh, that's a bit deep for Lukáš.
Yeah.
2012 F1 season. God, that does not feel like it was a decade ago. That's a way to make me feel old. That was the season where we have 5 winners in the first 5 races.
6 in the first 6.
6 in the first 6. I say 6 in the first 5. How do you manage that? That was Williams' last win, wasn't it?
Yep.
With Pastor Maldonado. Yep. I remember that season well. I don't remember many things at my old age, but I do remember that. Wow, Lukáš is really... I don't know whether it's dirty air or whether those hard tyres aren't up to prime operating temperature yet, but he seems to be really understeering.
Yeah.
It seems to be going deep everywhere at the moment, but also we're not seeing a really, really aggressive stance from Lukáš at the moment. If you just watch how he's backing off, he did it again there. He's done it quite a few corners. You hear him just backing off the throttle before he's hitting the brakes.
Push to pass.
If he wasn't really that, but he's going for push to pass now because he's on a bit of a straight, goes to the inside line, hopes that Aleš Danda has seen him, which he has, and that should be fairly straightforward for Lukáš then to make the pass. Fairly, as far as passing is straightforward here, that's a good way to do it. Along the Seaside Way into Firestone turn, nicely done. But quite a few times you're hearing Lukáš just, you know, lifting and coasting into a number of corners. I think he's just playing the caution game more than anything else. Again, wise head, just not pushing, you know, he's not thinking, I'm not in the lead, I must get towards the top. He's just thinking, I need to finish here, this will do.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to win any records, or not earn any records for... Oh, and who was that? Stationary at the side of the road. I am... Is that Kashka? That is Kashka. I thought it might have been Kashka, but I wonder if that's happened all on his own. It wouldn't be the first time that we've seen somebody off at turn 1 all on their own. But here's Kadlacek, who has managed to close that gap back up to Přáda. That's very interesting. I hadn't even clocked that. We were so focused on all the stuff that was going on with the championship contenders, I had not even noticed that Kadlec has managed to muscle his way back to within 2 seconds of Lukáš Přáda, and the battle for the lead is very well and truly on at this stage. Maybe he's used quite a bit of push to pass in order to do that. Look at that last lap, 108.3, 6/10 quicker than Přáda on that previous lap. Let's find out what happened with Kaška. Yep, he is very much on his own, so this appears to be a self-inflicted wound. And yeah, he just ever so slightly just kisses the barrier and loses both sides of his front wing for his troubles. Reverses ever so slightly into the rear as well. Really unfortunate for Kaška as well, because Kaška's had I think a pretty good season, yeah, at the moment holding on to 29 points, 3 8th place finishes as it stands right now. So doing quite well.
Přáda's in again.
Yeah, Přáda is in again, and I wonder if he's picked up some damage, potentially, or if indeed you were right, and this is a 3-stop strategy circuit. But I wonder if that has something to do with Kadlec closing in, because again, Kadlec's put in another 108.3. And I wonder if potentially Přáda picked up some damage, and he's realized that actually pitting would take less time. I'm not so sure about that, but that's going to move Pilo into a podium position. I mentioned earlier on how he has yet to pick up a podium so far this season. He's always in the 4th to 7th kind of range. Now finds himself in 3rd with a 6-second gap to David Přáda as well. This could be Adam Pilo's moment.
And deserved. You can't say he's looked into that. He's hit the ground running, exactly as you were saying before. He's very much one to keep an eye on for future championship contention. And there's Mercedes. He wasn't in the pits long. I think he just wanted to get rid of those hard tyres. We saw how quick he was in his starting soft tyres. It was absolutely blinding. And now the car's a bit lighter. He wants to get back onto those soft tyres. Those are more than likely able to carry him through to the end of the race. He realises he probably didn't quite have the pace of Kadlec. He's done a 108.2 now, so he's even faster. As the car continues to get lighter, Kadlec seems to be more than comfortable on those hard tyres, so he's pressing on. Stefanko is now up to 8th position, so inside the top 8 on what are going to be feeding pretty worn soft tyres by now, so keeping Přáda behind him is going to be a bit of a challenge. I wouldn't be surprised if Stefanko comes in fairly soon, because I cannot see those soft tyres lasting to the end of the race anymore, certainly not with any real meat left on the bone. So, but we'll see. Kadlec, now if he's comfortable on those hard tyres, which he seems to be, he might try and get those through to the end of the race. Will we have an entropic on the top step of the podium again?
Could be. He is continuing to pull away from his teammate anyway. That's now more than 8 seconds, or around about 8 seconds, between himself and his teammate. That's a Nadlik, by the way, in the background behind Kadlec, using push to pass and on soft tires. So he may be looking to potentially unlap himself. And we saw him come out of the pits on that lap that he just finished. So those soft tires are brand new on that Lenovo Legion car. And he may not be interested in spending any time behind the hard tire shod and tropic car of Kadlec. So he might be looking to push on potentially, and he can in fact go for that. Oh, Přáda makes the move on Stefanko, or just shows him his nose. He's going to deploy the push to pass as well. Stefanko hasn't clocked it yet. He's not used the push to pass on his side, and he is going to allow Přáda to get the inside, or what's going to become the inside. It's the outside for that kink, then becomes the inside for turn 1, and Přáda ever so slightly on the brakes is going to make that move himself up into 8th position. And I just wonder, Stefanko really has not made lots of inroads on the leaders. What was previously Přáda now is Kadlec. It's still more than 30 seconds to the leaders, as Přáda very quickly dispatches his teammate Peter Hermach, who I imagine is going to be slightly less accommodating for Martin Stefanko behind.
Yeah, it could well be. That Přáda is alive at the moment, and has to be. He has to really press on to try and get back up towards this man, Kadlec, in the Entropic car that offers no resistance to the Lenovo Legion car. Whether he realises there was soft tyres on that car, who knows? Adam Pilo is in the pits, so he's going to go for a set of soft tyres for the end of the race. That is going to, at the moment, knock him out of podium contention. But if my suspicion is right, we're going to see a lot more people coming into the pits as was Alexander for all and Benzina also coming in. If my initial thought is right, we're seeing a lot of people going for 2 stops. There's going to be a number of other pit stops left to do. Not this man, however. He's already got his fresh softs on. He's going to be pressing on until the checkered flag, I would say, unless disaster strikes. But Podstarter, he's been really at one with his car on soft tyres at this track. He's having a storming race.
Push to passes were just up on the screen. Adam Pilo with not very many, Sirotek with not many remaining. David Pichata with 9, though, the highest out of, I think, anybody that I saw in the top 10. So David Pichata, 7 seconds up the road on his brother and current championship leader Lukáš Přáda, and with more push to passes at his disposal as well. So David Pichata could be a real dark horse in this race. It'd be very interesting to see what he's able to manage, but Podstarter continues to push forward. He's now caught up to the back of Lukáš Přáda, in fact. So he's now going to be looking to think about making an overtake there. Peter Hermach deploying a bit of push to pass, and Stefanko is in. Stefanko is in. He's going to come in, and surely that is going to be for a set of soft tires, but surely that is the championship 1 for Lukáš Přáda, as long as he hangs on now. So I really think Stefanko's only hope was, charging to the front with that set of softs. I don't see that happening with a second set of softs, especially when the gap between himself and Kadlecek at the time of pitting still more than 30 seconds. So I think that's probably going to be GG to Lukáš Přáda. But of course, there is still 13 minutes remaining. Lukáš Přáda could have something catastrophic happens, and in which case Stefanko would just need to finish in 3rd rather than win, which is still a tall order. However, David Přáda is 25 seconds behind Kadlecek, so yeah, there is still hope, but I have to say it's looking really good for him. Podstarter deploying some push to pass now. He wants to try and make the overtake on Lukáš Přáda. He's going to get that inside line into turn 1. He's been great on the brakes into turn 1 as well, and even really before the braking zone, he's able to take that racing line, and he just looks so confident on the brakes through that turn 1. And he looks really good through the past the fountain. I was going to ask you, Chris, actually, when you commented on Lukáš Přáda's understeer, I think that might have been after you saw him go through the fountain area, because, yeah, every time I see him go through the fountain area, it seems like he's just getting catastrophic understeer. He's at, like, full lock, but the car is barely turning.
Yeah, it could well be. And Lukáš Přáda, just like, be my guest. Go on then. Off you go. As Sirotek is into the pits for the final time for his race. As there he is. Front wing looks attached and in the correct shape, so this should just be for tyres for him. Podstarter is just doing qualifying laps now. He's just pressing on with all he's got. So Sirotek on the right, Podstarter on the left. Podstarter will take that position. Your pit stop will be good. It won't be that good. And the pit lane is really long at Long Beach as well. And there we go. We've just seen the Carvago car fly through the shot and up into 3rd position then. Might we see David Přáda on the podium? It depends how much life is left in those hard tyres at this stage. There was Adam Pilo, who was in contention for a podium for a while, and still might be, because we don't know who else is going to pit. If all the hard runners ahead of him pit, that will put him back towards kind of podium contention. Alexander in the pit again. That's 3 times, isn't it, for Alexander? It's not been a good race for him.
No, it really hasn't. It's going to lose him lots of positions. He's down a lap as well, too. He is still fighting for points, though, so still reasons to get back out there and get the elbows out and all that kind of stuff. But Kadlecek continues to lead, 27 seconds thereabout, down to David Přáda, who is looking very strong for that podium position. And if Kadlecek has to come into the pits again, but David Přáda doesn't, because remember, the Přáda brothers pitted quite a bit later compared to the rest of the field. So if Kadlecek is coming in again, but David Přáda is not, then he could be in the fight for for the lead. Wow, the cars are definitely not doing 25 miles per hour down that road. Not in these cars. I do think it's funny that the speed limit sign is still up there. Now this is a part of the track where they're doing 25 miles an hour actually at that hairpin. It is extremely slow, and yeah, it's an aggressive pit entrance as well too. Almost looked like he was just beelining for the barriers for a moment there. But there's Podstata. He's making his way down East Seaside Way, and there's Kavlicek making his way down East Shoreline Drive in the pit lane, of course, because West Shoreline Drive that's the fast side of Shoreline Drive, and there is Podstata making his way into that extremely slow hairpin, just so slow. It's like if you took Luffield and shrunk it down like to 20% or something like that. You're at lock for so long, but it just keeps going and going. And Kavlicek is moving. He's coming out of the pits now. It's going to be pretty close between the two of them. But Stada is going to be moving much quicker, though. And there he goes, a few seconds up the road from Kavlicek. And Lukáš Přáda is actually going to be ahead of him as well. So Lukáš Přáda moves himself up into a podium position. David Přáda now finds himself leading the race with less than 9 minutes to go and less than 4 seconds between himself and and Podstata, who is Lukáš Podstata, who is going very quickly on those soft tires. Ooh, I don't know about Přáda's chances here, because again, Podstata going very quickly. And as well, Kavlicek could be a real threat here to Lukáš Přáda. So both of the Přáda brothers, I think, could be coming under attack in the closing stages of this race.
Yeah, I fully agree. I don't see, as well as David Přáda has done in this race, I don't see how he's going to be able to fend off. Unless Lukáš Podstata has burned the best out of those. Oh, goodness me, I didn't even finish that sentence. 3 wide into turn 1. It's wide enough, but my dear goodness me. Sort it out, gentlemen. Wow, that was busy. That was from both Maricek and Mocek, I think. All arguing. As we're looking at the Navitel stand-in of Mocek on the back of Big Chocks, Maricek on the back of Miroslav Svoboda in the Puma car. It's truth. They're having a fantastic fight. This is for 11th position, all points-paying positions as well. So, you know, great battle to see. And just ahead of them is Studnicka, actually, in the Lenovo Legion car. Could he come under threat as well? As Studnicka's actually on the hard tyres, all these cars are on softs. So I think we're going to have a 4-way fight for the last of the top 10. But anyway, coming back to what we were saying before, I can't see how David Přáda is going to fend off Podstata unless Podstata will have burned the best out of those tyres. Well, he has burned the best out of them, but I think he'll have enough to challenge for that top spot. And already, Kavlicek is on Lukáš Přáda. And again, Lukáš, one, won't be able to offer any defence on a freshly reshod, soft-tyred car. And again, doesn't hold that inside line. It's not interested. No. Yeah, be my guest. On you go. He knows he can't hang on to the position, but again, he knows he doesn't have to. It's he's still well in the position he needs to be, and of course, crucially, Martin Stefenko is not in the position he has to be in. He had to be in the top 3 bare minimum to even have a remote chance of staying in the championship fight. And of course he is in 8th right now, so that is not going his way. But Kavlicek, exactly as you were saying before, is destroying that gap towards the top spots. I don't see David Přáda hanging on to the lead. He could well hang on to a podium at this rate, but I think we are really on for the last few laps between Podstata and Kavlicek. Ooh, now this is going to be fun, because Kavlicek, of course, he's got completely fresh boots on. Podstata's been absolutely burning those tyres to absolute nothing for, well, however many laps. A dozen laps or so that he's done on those. And pushed to pass on Kavlicek. He's got Podstata in his sight. And if David Přáda is hanging on to those tyres, which, by the fact that he hasn't been in the pits, would indicate that he is, with Podstata and Kavlicek battling, that might be the lifeline he needs. I don't know. I genuinely have no idea which way this is going to go. One thing I do know is this. It's going to be spicy.
That lap Kavlicek just put in would have been good enough for 7th on the grid in qualifying. Wow. That is how quick that lap was. A 106.7 coming out from Kavlicek, and he has flown up to the back of Podstata. Absolutely flown up to the back of him. It's taken multiple laps for Podstata to eat out, or to eat the similar sort of gap to David Přáda. Also, I just remembered, David Přáda has more push-to-pass available than any other driver in the top 10, at least when we last checked. And you asked earlier if we were going to have a fight here in the battle for this 10th place position. The way this is playing out, I think we may have an accident, but Maricek shoots up the inside there, manages to find that 11th place position. Svoboda slips down to 12th. Meanwhile, Kadlecek moves to the inside at turn 1, does to Podstata what Podstata has been doing to everybody else all race along, and just easily and effortlessly dispatches the Carvago car in turn 1 under braking. Made it look easy, and now he has a 2-second gap to David Přáda, who I have to imagine is going to be very aware of that change of position behind him. He's going to be very aware that Kadlecek is going extremely quickly, and in fact, he may have advanced knowledge just because of Lukáš Přáda. Lukáš Přáda may have told him, hey, Kadlecek just came through like his rear end was on fire. Be on the lookout, because yeah, he's setting 106s at this stage, so yeah, there's your heads up. But with less than 4 minutes remaining, a 106 lap time, I think there's 4 laps remaining after this one, if my math is correct, because 3 laps would take us down to just over 3 minutes remaining, and then we would have 1 more. So 4 laps remaining. Kadlecek deploying that push to pass. 107.1 was the lap prior, and another 107.1. Unbelievable consistency we're seeing from Kadlecek in the Entropic car, and he has now gotten that gap down to less than a second, but he is out of push to pass entirely, and David Přáda has 8 remaining. He can use 2 per lap for the rest of the race. Oh, who do you put your money on?
I still advantage Kadlecek. Přáda cannot have anything left in those tyres. They are hanging on by glue and prayers at the moment. He cannot have any life left in them. But I mean, push to pass will definitely help, no doubt about that. But Kadlecek is going to be able to brake so much later into every single turn. Look at the gap to Podstata. Wow. My goodness, his pace is just gone. Again, his tyres are just down to cinders. I thought he was in a real position to challenge for the lead. Well, he was for a while. And there we go. David Přáda is just dumping the battery, as I call it, just using any bit of energy he can. And out of that slow corner is the best place to do it, because all the push-to-pass energy is utilised all the way down towards turn 1. So Kadlecek is going to have to bide his time. I still reckon Kadlecek can do it. Well, he can. He's certainly got the pace and the talent. But David Přáda, oh my goodness me! I'm going to say this is going to go in Tropic's way, but I'm not. I wouldn't be disappointed if either of them came home. They won't share the prize, of course, but I would be quite happy for either of them to do it. I still reckon Kadlecek's going to do it, but this has been a brilliant race for both of them. So David Přáda he's only been on the podium twice all season, and both of those were in the GT3 phase. He hasn't had a race this strong all in the single-seater phase for the entire season. So this is first or second. This is going to be a fantastic result for the ERT car.
2 laps remaining, 6 push to passes, make that 5 push to passes as David Přáda once again accelerates off down into the distance. And I wonder if at this point Kadlecek is just kicking himself. Why did I not save 1 or 2 of those push to passes? Because he was catching up so quickly. I think he was going to end up here in the, following in the wake of David Přáda, whether he used those push to passes or not. But he, all he accomplished with them was getting, close to him quicker. But now he doesn't have that straight line speed in order to make the overtake. And David Přáda has all the tools that he needs in order to make this happen. But he is clearly struggling. You could see on the previous lap, coming out of 5. Kadlecek tried to go around the outside of 8 on the last lap. Oh. Here we go. Surely David Přáda once again is going to have to use that push to pass. Kadlecek just sitting in that slipstream, and once again, David Přáda actually does not use the push to pass. Kadlacek not able to brake late enough. He found that inside line, but he couldn't quite pull alongside, and he couldn't find the late braking enough. Kadlacek, definitely one of the safest and most mature and respectful drivers on the grid, I have to say. He is not going to force this issue. I really don't think so. David Přáda starts the final lap of this race, deploys that push to pass. Lukáš Přáda using some push to pass, and there he goes! And there he goes! So early on the brakes was David Přáda of Kadlacek, finds that inside line, finds the lead as well. Don't forget, Přáda does still have some push to passes remaining. However, I don't think he's going to be able to be late enough on the brakes in order to actually make the overtake, and by the time he gets to the next zone where he can deploy that push to pass, it's too late. Kadlacek has gone 8/10 up the road, and he is finally gonna win his first race. He's been on the podium twice this season already. He showed up in the middle of the year, went on the podium twice, hasn't finished outside the top 5, has done an incredible job for Entropic, and today he truly has been a star as he shoots his way up to the front, moves ahead of David Přáda, who's going to pick up a podium, by the way. A second place finish ahead of Lukáš Přáda, and that will be very well deserved as well. But the man of the hour, the driver of the day, in my mind, Kadlacek, he's going to power his way to the line. He's going to pick up his maiden victory in VGP, and you can see he is quite happy about that one. He's not going to celebrate too much, though. He's going to keep it a reserved sort of celebration as he crosses the line. David Přáda in second, Lukáš Přáda in third, but it is going to be Lukáš Přáda who crosses the line in 4th position and picks up the championship along with it. It's not even a podium finish for him, but he's going to pick up the championship win. He is going to be the 2022 VGP champion. Very well deserved, an incredible season for him. Sirotek comes home in 5th position, a difficult race for him after a great qualifying. Pilo once again finishes in the 4th to 7th range. He will not be denied. Nadlik, though, with a solid finish in 7th. Stefanko in 8th. Hermach once again finishing in the top 10 as he's one to do. He did end up losing 1 position, I think, to Stefanko after shooting up to 8th earlier on. Maricek with a solid result is going to pick up some points for Big Shock. Hora is going to pick up some Big Shock points as well. Mocek and Hora all going to cross the line together.
So then the podium has some couple of new names in it. Martin Kadlacek, well done to you, sir. David Přáda in second. Podstarter, who I tipped to take the victory early on, but comes home in a strong podium nonetheless. Lukáš Přáda, the new champion, or who will become the new champion at the end of this season, comes home 4th. Sirotek in 5th, with Peter right behind. Then tail end of the field, Svoboda 11th. His results are starting to get there now, which is good to see. Then Mocek and now it's Navitel. Again, good showing in for him as a stand-in. Then Horace, Studnicka, Moritz and Stepanovsky with the rest of the field there. So this is how the championship table currently looks. Just 1 point between Stefanko and Podstarter, so they're still on it to figure out between a former champion and the current champion, or the soon-to-be ex-champion, with Lukáš Přáda now in a completely unassailable position. Doesn't even need to appear at the grand finale in Suzuka. He will, of course, but lots of shuffling around further down as well, which is always good to see. Everyone fighting for every point they can possibly get, even down to the last round. Always good to see, and what an amazing season we've had for 2022 here in VGP.
Unfortunately, Eric Vizzy losing out on a couple of positions as a result of his absence, but great news for Svoboda moving up. In the Teams Championship, though, it is still pretty close. 37 points between ERT Racing and Entropic, and then another 70 points down to ESET, who has managed to score over 200 points. Carvago looking to score over 200 points as well. They're in 4th with 182. Then Mecha Alfredsson, a difficult day for them. 158 points for them as it stands. That is it for the penultimate round of VGP 2022. For myself, Chris Buxton, we just want to say a big thanks to all the drivers, all the fans, and everyone in behind the scenes. We'll see you next time for the final race of the season. Bye-bye. Lukáš Přáda, who is going to take the opening win of 2022's Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP season. Lukáš Přáda starts the second half of the season in the best possible way. Around the outside at turn 1, he is not hanging around that. That completes the move. Přáda trying desperately to hang on in there, but I think Přáda is just about ahead. The race win for Lukáš Přáda, his third win of the season. Lukáš Přáda, he is going to be the 2022 VGP champion.